and then Dr. Rachel Cobb. Could you introduce yourself? And then you can go ahead and transition to your opening keynote if you don't mind.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Cobb, and I am so delighted to be here. It is just such an honor. So thank you for inviting me. Uh, I have been a professor at Suffolk University since 2006. And since then, I have been teaching a voting rights and election law class every other year in even numbered years. And during that time when I teach it in the fall of even numbered years, I require that my students serve as poll workers. And I've been partnering with the city of Boston since 2006 when we, together with the city of Boston and some other colleges around the country, received a grant from the United States Election Assistance Commission to start working on a book to teach colleges how to run college poll worker programs. So since then, I've also updated the US EAC's guide on how to run college poll worker programs. And as a result, in my research, I think a lot about poll workers and how they interact with each other, how they interact with the public, and the kinds of relationships that they form internally and with elections more broadly, and the impact that they have on the confidence that we have in our elections. So I am now going to transition to our conversation and kick us off by talking about the Save America Vote Act, among other things. I'm just going to go to my PowerPoint now and share my screen. And here is the Maryland State Board of Elections online voter registration site. And you can register online if you have a driver's license. If you do not, you have to send in your voter registration form by mail. And so the one layer there, which is not unimportant, is that for people who have to then go this route, this means that they have to have a printer and they have to know how to mail a letter, which for some of us seems super easy, but I can tell you as a faculty member teaching 18 to 22-year-olds and as the mom of two young people, knowing where to put a stamp on an envelope, knowing what a stamp is becoming more and more difficult and not something, even where to put the address on an envelope. So all of these things are actually things that we sort of thought we knew by osmosis, but are now need to be taught. So even this layer is a challenge for many, especially for our young people. So one of the things that we have done in all of these ways of registering is and casting ballots. I just want to point out that we have over since 1996, following the 1993 voter motor bill, we've seen some big changes in how we vote. So you'll notice with the red line that voting in person on election day has decreased dramatically, as voting by mail has increased and voting in person early has also increased. So the way we vote has substantially shifted over the last 20 to 30 years. 28 states plus DC have no excuse absentee laws. And there are a number of states that are only vote by mail. So I say this to show, and then here's early voting. We have 47 states plus DC plus Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands offer early in-person voting to all voters. And from the voters' perspective, even if they are voting in person absentee, they are essentially experiencing early voting. It might be the way the state law does it is a little different, but from the voters' perspective, the experience of voting essentially in person is the same. So what does this mean for election integrity? Federal data shows that very few voter verification cases are returned as non-citizens. Basically, non-citizen registration and voting barely exists. There is absolutely no evidence that non-citizen registration and voting is widespread. In fact, in study after study after study after study, we find that the amount of this kind of registration is incredibly low. 0.04% of voter verification cases are returned as non-citizens. That's like 40 cents out of $1,000 that you have, or 20 seconds in a 24-hour day. I'm just trying to say that it is so negligible. And yet we are proposing massive changes to how we do everything in voting for a problem that doesn't exist.